Hello, Angelo.
Hello, Peter. How you doing, buddy?
I'm all right. How about yourself?
Good. Welcome, everybody. Another Fishing Canada Live. Thanks for joining us today. He is Pete. I'm Ange. We got some guests today. We haven't had guests on the program for a long time.
Yeah.
Our very good friend, the Doc, is going to make an appearance.
He did a surprise attack on us. We just got a hold of him this morning finally. And Doc says, "Yeah, I'm on, boys. Let's go for it." I was like, well, okay, we're not turning down the Doc ever. Tony, good afternoon, you hosers.
Before we do that, though, we've got some news items you wanted to start with, Pete, today.
Yeah, in case hopefully some people are still going to our news section of our website. The three latest news pieces we put up are very interesting. Well, I will just quickly get into it. You can go to the site to check them out for sure. But unfortunately, there was a death during an MLF, a Major League Fishing tournament. A 77-year-old co-angler, so not the guy that runs the boat, but the co-angler. We don't know the real story. Ange and I don't know the real story on this one yet, the full story. We do know that he passed away and his partner tried to save him. We heard he's fallen off the boat, but then we heard he fell off the dock beforehand. So we're still kind of figuring that one out. But you know what? At the end of this piece, we always say, wear your personal flotation devices all the time. In these tournaments, they don't wear them all the time. They wear them when the boat's underway, and when you get to the spot, they flip them off and they fish, right? So it'd be nice to have everybody wearing them all the time, like we do and profess to do now. So that's on the site. Go ahead, Ange. You want to talk about that for a second? Or
yeah, there's Harold from St. John. Hi, Harold. Harold, how are you doing?
Harold, yes, sir.
Harold. Yeah, like Pete said, we don't know exactly what happened, and it's highly unlikely that the gentleman was wearing a life jacket. In fact, it was an interesting stat when we were looking at the numbers. Interesting stat that I ran across. Can't remember where I found it, but anyways, obviously on the internet somewhere. That 12%. This caught me a little bit off guard because you automatically assume if you've got a life jacket on, you're not going to be a casualty. Well, 12% of the water fatalities over the last, I believe, 5 years, they were wearing personal flotation device of some kind. So we don't want to rule that out in this case. We're going to get more details and fill you in next time we're on for sure.
Yeah, let's just say you got a better chance of surviving with your personal flotation device on than tucked away in a compartment that you can't even get to, sort of thing. Let's be honest with that one, right? So, I mean, if you bump your head, if somebody bumps their head, there's always accidents upon accidents, and that you just can't help. But we strongly suggest wearing your personal flotation devices. And the next story we have up there, Ange found this one. In the Detroit River, a 240-pound lake sturgeon was caught in the Detroit River on April 22nd, just this past April 22nd.
Hey, Dinah. Sorry.
And Anne's brought up a point. I wonder if Canadian sturgeon, lake sturgeon, are bigger than the American lake sturgeon. And in fact, he found one, the biggest one. There's a good story. You should read it all. But down to the bottom of it, the oldest recorded lake sturgeon is 155 years of age from Lake Huron. And I think that fish was 407 pounds, something like that.
No, that was the oldest fish. The biggest fish was caught in Manitoba at 400. I think it's
407. Yeah. 185 kilograms. 150 years old, that fish. The interesting part of that whole thing is this, at the very last thing, this lake sturgeon eat both plants and animals.
Yeah.
Lake sturgeon eating animals. I wonder what they eat for animals. Like, what the hell would they be eating?
Fish.
You know what I mean? Yeah, fish. I guess fish. Would they eat a muskrat, do you think, or something like that? I guess
probably.
If it was dead, they would.
I mean, right? Of course, we fish sturgeon out in Western Canada in the Fraser River, and of course, this is not the same sturgeon, right? Let's not confuse the two. Freshwater, and then you've got the white sturgeon, which is the one that we fish for in Western, out of the Pacific. They're an incredible animal, and they grow to humongous sizes.
Yeah.
In fact, I think they've got records of 12-foot plus fish, over 1,000 pounds. So quite a bit different. But they'll eat anything. I mean, we use anywhere from what they call ditch eels, which is nothing but a big glorified dew worm, but they're massive. Parts of salmon, which is always big, roe, any kind of carrion that you can kind of drift around on the bottom, the sturgeon will eat. So it was no surprise to find out that our lake sturgeon are, they'll eat both plant and meat, as it were.
The freakiest thing that I ever did when we were sturgeon fishing ants when we were out there is when Vic first pulled out one of those salmon heads. A salmon head that big and great big circle hook right through the whole head and threw it out there. I said, "Come on, they don't eat that." He says, "Oh, you watch it happen."
Right.
And the last news story. This is a really good one for everybody here to go and read up on the Fishing Canada News. You're going to see about a guy that got charged for having over his possession of walleye. And it's important to know that your daily limit and your possession limit are two different things in the sense of the law, but they could be the same number. It used to be back in the day when I started fishing, when Ange started fishing, that it was always pretty much double, right, Ange? It used to be if you were allowed 6 bass a day to keep a day, you were allowed 12 to keep in your possession, okay? This guy, he got charged because he was out fishing. He had 4 in the box in his boat, and then the game wardens went and checked his house, and he had 4 more in his house. And in fact, that possession limit there was the same as the daily limit, which is 4 fish. Now, 4 fish in your boat, 4 fish in your possession anywhere in this world. So you have to remember, I mean, these fishing rules in every province, I'm sure everywhere there's fishing, and I know in Canada it's every province, they're there for a reason, and you have to know them. It's like seasons. You can't fish out of season. You can't, it's the same thing. You're breaking the law. This guy got charged for those 4 extra fish. He got charged $1,000 a pop. So he got $4,000 fines and lost his fishing privileges for 2 years because of that. So just keep that in mind, that you need to know how many you can keep, and how many you can keep in your house, your freezer, everywhere you go. Because if you have 2 people in your household, you and your wife, but you only have 1 license, and you're thinking, hey, I can keep 4 for her too. If she doesn't have a license, you're over the Grover. You're done. You know what I mean? So
that's very important to look at those. A lot of people, get so excited when the season's open, they just go out fishing, assuming the old rules apply, and you got to check them all the time. Hey, there was Nick, could you put up the message you had up there from Chris from Quebec, from Ile-Prat, Quebec? He says he caught a 4-foot sturgeon this past fall. Now, before all of you from Ontario go running to your information hotline and turn Chris in, Quebec has different rules and regulations in terms of sturgeon fishing. Here in Ontario, of course, they're completely shut down, have been, before I was even started fishing, they were already closed. But in Quebec, they still do allow first of all, some areas, some seasons, and they actually are allowed to keep, I believe it's 1 fish per season, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe Chris could verify that for us. We know it's legal to fish for them and they do it on the St. Lawrence all the time, right? Usually close to dams and stuff like that. So very and there are lots of YouTube videos and stuff out there if you want to look it up at the Quebec. But what Ange said is another important law. Remember that in Ontario, you cannot even target sturgeon. Do not catch them. Do not target them. If you incidentally catch one, you got to flip it off as fast as you can and let it go, or cut your line, whatever it is. So.
Very little known about our sturgeon here, by the way.
No.
There aren't many studies being conducted. There's very little known. And I often thought about this. We're presuming they're still in danger or on the list, right? But having been off limits for both commercial and recreational anglers, I wonder, is it just a case where sort of out of sight, out of mind? Because, we see all kinds of them when we're out fishing, especially in the Great Lakes and the St. Lawrence, right?
Yeah.
If
because I heard the Rainy River is loaded with them again. Like they used to be, it used to be good. It used to be one of the best fisheries for sturgeon before, and then they stopped it a province wide. But maybe there's certain areas they could open up to sturgeon fishing, especially in rivers, right? Like St. Lawrence. I don't know, but you're right. It's a great question. I don't know if there's creel studies or netting studies.
There's Teddy from Boston.
Hello, Yankee.
Boston, Teddy.
There's our Yankee buddy.
Yeah, babe.
Anyway,
just be careful. Check out the regulations in your area to be safe. Nothing worse than getting charged for a violation that you didn't even know you were doing. So
Luke Gerard says only above Valleyfield on the St. Lawrence. So So that's the Quebec part of it, sort of like that. So thanks, Luke.
Now, today we're going to talk a little later on the program. We're going to talk about the contests, the two contests that we've got going on right now, especially the Great Ontario Getaway giveaway that is in its second phase, its second month, and we had 5 winners selected last week. And congratulations to all of them. We're going to go over some of the things that I think a lot of you are missing out on. It's that easy to win. Those 5 people that won didn't just wake up one day and say, I'm going to win it. They worked hard, and we want to talk to you about how you too can win this incredible contest in the months to come. But before we get to that, something else that in terms of regulations was announced on this program, and in fact, then we actually had the minister come on several months later and talk about it, as well as another regulation that the Ministry of Natural Resources had put through. And I'm talking about the Honorable John Yakubuski, who has been on the program several times. One of the things they did this year was to extend the bass fishing, catch and release bass fishing season from January to May in Zone 20 here in Southern Ontario. And immediately it caused a bit of controversy here within our own organization, never mind across the nation, if not, or province, if not nation. And that is, the ethical part about fishing for a species that we've always had closed before it was allowed to spawn. And so we actually had a poll on the show, and the results were kind of interesting, although I have to say I was shocked that 75% of you think that it's a good new regulation, that you can go out and fish for these fish, albeit catch and release only, that you can go out and fish for them, and that everything is cool and everything's fine. Only 25% agreed with those of us who think that it's that one time a year where we probably should give them a bit of a break. We've got such a tremendous bass fishery in this part of the world that I'm always leery about changing things, because one tiny little change could make the whole thing collapse. And it always frightens me, because we have such a great bass fishery. It always frightens me to make changes like this. And the reason I'm bringing all this up, there was a wonderful article by our good friend Gord Pyzer in this issue of Outdoor Canada magazine, their e-issue, that dealt with that. And I will say it's shocking. Some of you might disagree. Pete, you might not agree with that, but I found the results of this was shocking, because we've never really had conclusive studies done before. There's been enough scientific evidence to prove that it may or may not harm the reproduction cycle of bass when we catch them out of I won't say out of season, when we take them off a bed, even temporarily. But we've never had a study like this where it is just black and white.
That's a key, though. That is a key at what you're talking about, is that from ice out, okay, for instance, Zone 20 closes on Monday, right? From ice out to Zone 20, or in Zone 20 to Monday, there will not be one bass on a bed, guaranteed. That's guaranteed. So you're definitely not talking about bedding fish in there. What you're talking about is a whole different story for sure. These are fish that move in and they're on their beds, and they're usually the males guarding, and then people are going to catch them. That's a big, that's like picking cherries.
The problem is, you'll see from the study, is that, as we know, there's a lot of factors that will drive a fish to get into that reproduction mode. And it's not a calendar, and it's not a date. It's all based on temperature and sunlight and moon phase, and there's all sorts of things that we have to consider. And when you establish dates, hard, fast dates, They don't always coordinate with nature.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. But I can guarantee you that zone 20 right now, the water is just hitting 50 degrees now, just hitting. So always up into the 40s, basically up until it closes. So they're not going on the nest till 60, 65s, whatever it is. So just to let everybody know, a date might mean something, but if the temperatures mean something, the temperatures are very low still to this day. Because this is attached to Lake Ontario too, right? It's all the coldest water you're going to have. So, and all the runoff from up north.
So we invited the doc on the program today to sort of debate this, and I know what his views and opinions are on this. Gord and I have been talking about this very issue for years on the radio program, and so I'm not going to hide the fact that I know him and I are like-minded when it comes to this sort of thing, and he's experiencing it firsthand in Northern Ontario, where they have a wide open fishery, basically, albeit catch and release for their bass. And he's had a very strong opinion on that right from the day that opened. And keep in mind, Gord spent the first 20 years of his professional life with M&R and out in the field and studying this stuff. So he certainly knows a thing or two about it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We got Gordy? There he is.
Hey, look at that guy. What a handsome guy that is. Look at that.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing Gordy.
Good.
Doing good, man.
Good.
What a good sight to see on a Friday afternoon right there. Hey, what a great start of a weekend right there. Thank you, Gordy. You don't even have to say a word.
Hey, by the way, I'm pissed at you. I tried to get a hold of you for a week, and I finally gave up. And I said, Pete, can you reach out to the doc and see? Like, he won't respond to me. I've tried leaving him voicemail. I've tried sending him text messages. Just see if you can. And he sends you one message of boof.
He's probably sending it on the right number and the right email. Probably 20 years old. And
Gordy, I was just articulating the subject matter that you wrote about in that wonderful Outdoor Canada piece. That it sent shivers down. I hope down an awful lot of bass angler spines, because if there was ever anything that was conclusive in terms of studying fish, especially bass mortality with bedding fish, this was it, man. And fantastic job on picking it up and pointing it out to us. Maybe you could just bring the folks full circle on this and tell them what we're talking about.
Yeah. I want to back up just 1 second to your adaptive management strategy down in the zone that's open for the first time ever. And Pete's right, insofar as, from it's pre-spawn. So the fish are not on beds. And to be totally honest, there's nothing wrong with that. Likely nothing wrong at all. It's catch and release. They're not on beds. It provides you with additional experience, if you will, additional opportunities. And Bruce Tufts, I believe Bruce had a lot to do with that. It's phenomenal, good adaptive management. We will see what it leads to. I think probably really good results. And that's not what I'm going to talk about right now. Because Pete's right, when water temperature hits 60, and that is about the magical temperature, high 50s, maybe 58, 59, but once it consistently gets 60, that's when they come on beds. And there has been some research, 30 years in the making, and it is so conclusive. And all I'm doing is reporting on it. The folks that have done it is Dr. David Phillip. And David is the head of the conservation, head of the counterpart to M&R in Illinois. But here's the most amazing thing. The research was in cooperation with OMNR, and it was carried out in southeastern Ontario. So it has a phenomenal Ontario flavor to it. The reason, believe it or not, that part of it was carried out in southeastern. It's the only area in the world with a closed protective bass season, which is, from my perspective, phenomenal. It's Southern Ontario. Here's what I've said, guys, and you've heard me say this. When you look at Bassmaster, FLW, all the tournaments, in fact, scratch any bass angler on the planet and say, where do you want to fish for smallmouth? They will tell you, Ontario portion of Lake St. Clair, Ontario portion of Lake Erie, Lake Simcoe, Lake Ontario around the Kingston area, and the St. Lawrence River in Ontario. And you keep going, why in Ontario? They have a tournament on Lake St. Clair. Every boat rushes across to the Ontario side. They have a tournament on Lake Erie. Every boat rushes to Ontario. They have a Bassmaster event on the St. Lawrence River, and they rush. The guys will boat so that they fish for 90 minutes of the entire day to get down to Lake Ontario. What is the one thing all of those areas have in common? A closed protective season in the spring. It's as simple as, so David has spent 30 years. When I say 30 years, they have snorkeled, watched the beds, counted individual eggs in the beds for 30 years. They have followed the young of the year after they hatch, and then they come back the next year and say, how many young one-year-old bass that hatched the year before? And guys, I'm just reporting on this. It has showed there are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You can, at a minimum, double, triple the population, have big, and we know this. We see it on Simcoe. We see it on the St. Lawrence. We see it in the southeastern Ontario. The way you do it is you protect them for 4 weeks. You protect them when they spawn, and year classes are dependent on how many young of the year are produced that year. It is as simple as that. But the frightening part is, as they have monitored for 30 years, they have seen some of the and one of the lakes was Opinican in southeastern Ontario. They've still seen the bass numbers start to decline dramatically. 40% fewer eggs in the nest, 40% poorer survival. And they were wondering why. Every single bass, every single fish had 3 to 4 hook wounds in the mouth.
Wow. And what that means, Gord, of course, I read the article, it was fantastic, is that fish has been pulled off the bed 2 or 3 times during that particular season. And each time that happens, there is a reduction in the stock, right? This is offspring. So that to me, that was one of the really interesting parts of the study. But the one that was really, that knocked it home to me, was that those 4 lakes that they worked with that were closed to all fishing, so they were able to regulate it themselves and do various tests. It proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that we cannot mess with this fish when it is spawning.
And they were going to carry that study out for, I forget what, I think it was 20
years. 8 years they were going to. They
canceled it after 8 years. They said, why do we need to? It is so conclusive that if you fish for them on the beds, you wipe the population down 50%.
Yeah.
People need to realize too, these people that are watching us right now, bass are a different breed too. So bass are one of the few fish that actually sit and protect. The male stays with the nest and the eggs and protects those. Whereas other fish, the trout, they drop their eggs, they take off. Walleye, I believe they do the same thing. They drop their eggs and take off. They don't sit there and protect their. Do they, Gord? Don't think walleye do either, right? Do they?
You see walleye are spawning as we speak, at least right here on Lake of the Woods.
Right.
A 10-pound walleye, she will lay 300 to 500,000 eggs. One fish, a third to 500,000 eggs. A female bass and a male will protect a couple thousand. That's the difference.
Right.
So one walleye will lay 500,000. A bass will lay 2,000, but the male will protect them with his life. So you wind up with 3-4 coming to adulthood in both cases. The difference is the walleye lays 500,000, the bass lays a couple of thousand, but the male protects them. If you don't allow them to, within 8 minutes, they wipe perch, rusty crayfish, gobies. Within 8 minutes, the nest is raided, and that's it.
That's why I brought that up to everybody, because it's damn easy to see smallmouth bass locked on a nest. First off, you see the nest from 25, 30, 40 feet away, depending on the water clarity, or farther. And you just go up and, oh, there he is sitting right there. It's like cherry. It's to cast out. I think I'm going to get, if he doesn't bite one thing, you might get another. So that's the problem with this too, is that it's such an easy way to catch a smallmouth bass. That's the unfortunate part about it.
And we've all done it. Let's not kid ourselves. Everybody watching this, and the three of us sitting here right now, we've all done it. We're all guilty of having done it before. I mean, tournaments in the 70s and the 80s here in Southern Ontario, the first tournaments of the year, they were all about spawning and bedding fish. If you couldn't get a bedding fish, you weren't winning a tournament. So we've all done it. We're not saying that we're above it by any means, but like everything else, we've learned and we've evolved. And
that's why this new law, by the way, is brought in, because what Ange is talking about, when him and Reno, for instance, I didn't fish it too much, but over in Kingston, to this day, up until last year, when the season was open, is just when those fish are starting to move on those beds or finish the spawn, and that male is sitting there, that 5-pound smallmouth bass, 25 5-pound smallmouth bass are sitting on the nest after the season is open. So that's why they did the Zone 20 extension as well. Nobody seems to be talking about that, but they've also closed the smallmouth season 2 more weeks into July. So now 2 more weeks from the old opener. So that's going to help somewhat. I don't know how long, if it's going to be long enough, but at least it's going to help a bit. But yeah, because on opening day on the Great Lakes, those fish are locked on a bed, those big 5-pounders, and they're just, okay, I'm going to get you and you and you and go weigh in. So it's believe it or not, that's easy. Even
more bizarre, men, is up in my neck of the woods here. The season is open. It's catch and release during they have done that intentionally to help destroy the bass population.
Yeah, we heard that, Gord. We didn't hear that till a few years ago.
If the bios are doing it up here to destroy the population, down there, you guys should be doing the very opposite, because
exactly.
You know what they'll say is, oh, well, bass are an invasive species or non-native. And you go, and this has always been my argument, it's 50 miles from here, they are native. It's the height of land so are you telling me something is not native over 50 miles simply because of the way the glacier retreated?
Yeah.
But that's how bizarre we can become. And then what I also say is, talk to me about pheasants in the Dakotas, talk to me about rainbow trout in Lake Ontario and the Great Lakes and steelhead fishing. And then the same bios that are talking to me about bass not being native are planting rainbow trout in all of these stock lakes. And you go, well, wait a sec. Yeah. Walleye, here's even something more bizarre. Walleye are not native to all the Kawartha lakes. They were planted. So are you really saying we should remove now walleye from many of those Kawartha lakes where they are exotic invasive species?
Well, that's a great point.
It's happening right now on the East Coast. I mean, Muskie. Let's be honest about it. They're going through that same process right now with Muskie, right? So, it's a never-ending. That's going to be a never-ending cycle.
Hey, Gord, can I ask Gord a quick question on that? When you said that the bios they want you to destroy the smallmouth population, we heard that it's to help the trout population. Is that the case, or what is the reason for that?
You know, I spoke with Barry Corbett, one of our bios. Barry used to work for me, and spoke to Barry the other. There's no evidence. I mean, every time you have fish, often there's some definitely interspecific and intraspecific competition. In the springtime, they'll come up there. So if there's one crayfish, it can be eaten by a lake trout, or it can be eaten by a bass. If it's eaten by the bass, absolutely, that was a crayfish that wasn't available for a lake trout. The question is, have they suffered? And there's no evidence that shows they have suffered as a result. So yes, there's competition, but the question is, have they suffered as a result of the competition? And the answer is generally no. The other thing that David Phillip was talking about, and this was brilliant, is you'll often hear folks say, But there's so many bass hatched that nature produced so many of these that it doesn't really matter whether anglers fish for them on beds, because nature produces such a surplus. And as David said, not only is there not a single study whatsoever to prove that, every single one that has been carried out disproved it. And his now, as a result of 30 years, it's amazing. It's simply amazing. And I'll be honest, guys, if you don't want bass, by all means, angle them on the beds.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you shouldn't, whatever. But now that we know, you tailor your management strat. Don't keep saying the same things. It has no impact. As David Phillip, and his work is all being prepared right now for publication. And I spoke to David just yesterday. In fact, he's out doing research right now and documenting more. It's all coming up for peer review.
Anyways, it's a fascinating story, and one that everybody that fishes bass should read up on and get better educated. You can start with the article that the doc put up in Outdoor Canada magazine that will lead you to the fascinating study by Dr. Phillips. It's a must read. If you're into, forget if you're into bass fishing, if you're into fishing, this is a must read. One of the best reads that certainly I've encountered in a long time. And I thank you for that, Doc. Somebody wants to know about the walleye situation. How's it coming along up in Lake of the Woods?
Well, it's unfortunate, but it's not. It's been clearly determined, again, through fall walleye netting index netting surveys and spring index netting. Lake of the Woods right now, the walleye population in Lake of the Woods is in the most severe state of any major walleye fishery in Ontario.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
And our problem, guys, we're so good at what we do. I mean, and I'm to blame, and you guys, we're all to blame. We have educated folks. We know what to do. And I've said this many times. In the old days, we used to spend 8-10 hours looking and 1 hour catching, and now we spend all day catching. And it's not a problem with the rod makers, the boat makers, or sonar makers. They're not the problems. We got to look in the mirror. If we're now catching 20, 30, 40 fish a day, you can't throw 5 of them to eagles. You can't go and have a shore lunch, dump all your cooked fish and go out and catch another limit. And Lake of the Woods is in trouble. It is in major, major trouble. And I was the DM here, and the results are very similar to the Winnipeg River. When we did the walleye index spring and fall netting, we could not find a walleye in the Winnipeg River over 18 inches. That's how we brought it down to its knees. And on Lake of the Woods, unfortunately, we're within a 10-hour drive of 100 million people, and the walleye fishing is in trouble. So the ministry's put together a working group. I know what they're looking at, and the limits have to come down. I know what they are for Lake Nipissing. They're looking at Nipissing next year, a slot of about 15 to 17 and a half inches, 2 walleyes, nothing over 18. And you know what? I severely hope we bring that in on Lake of the Woods. We need to do it.
That one should work really well. I was speaking to Steve Nedzwicki the other night about that. Of course, he had Show Deer Lodge on the French River for over a decade. And he thinks it's a great move that they're implementing on
how will that affect the U.S. tourism, Gord? Do you think the Americans will still want to come up for their pickerel fishing and et cetera, or is it going to slow that down to once the borders open up, and get back to normal?
Yeah, actually you raised a really good point there, Pete. Let me come back to that, because here's the other thing that was so great about that BAP study, and you just twigged it with tourism. What happened last year, and this was absolutely brilliant, David's work, is Ontario had a COVID lockdown. And so when was the lockdown? By pure luck, by pure coincidence, the lockdown in Ontario was during the spawn. And so boat ramps were closed, anglers within Ontario, so Toronto, Ottawa, Kingston, wherever, were asked to stay home. So it was the 1 year in the last 30 where the bass were able to be protected during the spawn. And tell me, when do you think the best year class they've ever recorded in 30 years occurred?
Yeah.
First, last year.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Pete, back to your question about tourism, and I'm sure it was like what happened down your way. Tourism here on Lake of the Woods in terms of angling last year was unbelievable. We had a gas station in Kenora on Labor Day set a 1-day record for boat gas sale, 3 times higher than their ever highest sale, and they ran out of gas. We all had time on our hands, folks from Winnipeg, Kenora, wherever, and so all we did was locally and within Canada, we made up for the lack of American tourists by being out on Lake of the Woods and walleye. So it's and now here's the more interesting thing too. I see in Minnesota, their big walleye opener is tomorrow. They've asked people within Minnesota to go to 2 fish limits and none over 18 because they can't get to Canada. And they're afraid what's going to happen is that huge bottleneck within Minnesota tomorrow. Everyone's going to go out, keep limit.
Right.
And you go, we're finally starting to learn. The only thing we can hope is we're not learning too late.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point.
Luke wants to know about Muskie on Lake of the Woods, Gord.
Muskies, and I did the big Muskie Odyssey seminar a couple weeks ago. And again, it really relates. Luke's got a good question there relating to what we've been talking about bass and walleye. On Lake of the Woods, the minimum size is 54 inches. So the season's closed to protect them during the spawn. Minimum size is 54 inches, and they're doing very well. And you go again, if we don't need to do a lot of these huge management things, people talk about hatcheries and on and on. If we give fish, if we protect them when they're spawning and we give them good habitat, by and large, they look after themselves. And muskies, by going to 54-inch minimum size on them, protecting them when they spawn, on these same lakes that are having populations crashing on other species, muskies are doing very well. And you go, what's the difference? Oh, we're protecting them when they spawn and we have decent regulations.
Gord, this might be a dumb question, but with the walleye population drastically going down, will that affect the muskies' growth in their feeding? Because I'm sure they feed on muskies somewhat, but they must have a wide variety. But will that affect muskies' growth rate?
It's a great question, Pete, but the reality is, and diet studies are hard to do with muskies, obviously, because the only way to diet them is to open them up, dissect them, and the last thing we want to do is kill 54-inch. But the vast majority of work that has been done, Dr. Castleman with the Clythrum Project, Castleman, Crossman, and that was over 20, 30 years. The vast, vast majority of forage that muskies are eating are things like catfish, believe it or not. Bullheads showed up prominently, suckers, tullabies, whitefish, walleyes and bass, surprisingly very, very little. And in Minnesota, where they've done a lot of the work, virtually no impact overlapping the two species. They do not overlap. I mean, for sure, a muskie's going to eat a walleye, but I will guarantee more muskies get eaten by bigger walleyes when they're 2-3 inches and there's so few of them. That's nature's way.
You poor little muskies, they don't know what they're missing. Those pickerel are pretty good eating, I'll tell you.
Thank God they don't know what they're
Thank God, eh? Maybe the exterior tastes like crap. Who knows?
So have you started venturing out up there, Gord?
I have. I'm every year I set some little projects for myself, and believe it or not, I'm looking at some really, really unique ways for whitefish in the summertime. I do think they're an underutilized species. You guys know this. You've been up to Hawk Lake and over by Dogtooth, where they represent 1/3 of the population in the lake. And these are 5, 6, 7, 8 pound fish. And so I've got some really cool techniques, and I've been out looking for them, doing some lake trout chasing, but chasing rainbow trout and speckles in the stock lakes. In fact, I'm going again for brookies on Tuesday. So yeah, it's beautiful weather, and we're ice free, and we're 70% of normal precipitation. So Lake of the Woods is about 5 feet lower than normal. So we need rain badly.
I guess it wouldn't be right if we didn't ask you about the COVID situation in your neck of the woods.
I got to touch wood because we're relatively good, relatively within Kenora, Northwest Ontario. And as I say, we're relatively good, and we're hoping it stays that way. Our real concern, and it's no disrespect to tourists or whatever, but until everyone gets vaccinated, really don't want to see massive amounts of folks from elsewhere, whether they're Toronto or Winnipeg or the United States, come and visit us.
Yeah.
Well, boy, if there's any lodge owners listening, they're not happy with that comment you just made. I'll tell you that right now.
I'm more interested in my kids and grandkids. I got to tell you that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Give us all the second dose. They can open the border tomorrow.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a strange time we're all living in, isn't it? It's very surreal.
There's the curse, and that is, may you live in interesting times, and that's what we're living through.
Oh
For
boy,
sure.
have we ever.
Gordy, tell people where they can reach you, read you, get all that wisdom that we're so lucky to get here ourselves.
OutdoorCanada.ca, or just go on Facebook, and there's my name. Just Google my name there on Facebook, and you'll get it. And Outdoor Canada, and of course, Go Fish in Ontario, our good friends at Ontario Tourism. And I'll put a real good plug in for Algoma. Pick up Algoma's travel brochure, and I did a piece with Ange and Pete. Why Algoma is such a phenomenal location. It's right at your doorstep in southern Ontario, and it's the north. So you guys have got it great. You've got all the luxuries of urban living, and you got Algoma so close to you.
Perfect.
What's the name of the article in Outdoor Canada, Gord, that we talked about today? You too.
You caught me, but I'm not responsible for the headlines. They got specialists that grab people. And
if they go to the Outdoor Canada website, it'll be Gordy's latest. You go to the fishing department and the Outdoor Canada website. Gordy is the man in the fishing department, and you will see a ton of his stuff. And this is the latest. Well, that's the latest one. So.
It has something to do with the pandemic. The headline is something, how the pandemic saved bass or something.
Exactly, and you got it.
It's fantastic. Gordy, thanks for joining us, buddy. Really appreciate it all. Even though you don't return my calls, that's all right.
Listen, Pete, give him my new email from 2 years ago. He said,
"Okay, buddy. I think it's about time he gets it now, right? I think again for the 5th time."
Take care, my friend. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon.
Be good, man.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
Gord Pyzer, the doc, we call him.
I love when that guy comes on.
He's just a breath of fresh air for sure.
Oh my God!
And and by the way, not everybody agrees with Gord. I learned this, doing 20 years of radio with him, that not everybody agrees with him. So don't think that everybody just bows to him. There's a lot of people disagree with everything he says. However, I got to tell you something. Oh yeah. Oh, there's people that just absolutely, and it's one of those personality things. But I got to tell you something. You will not find a more passionate, honest, straightforward dude in the fishing community than Gord Pyzer.
And I don't know how you could not believe at least some scientific fact. If you could say Gord Pyzer, you're lying about it and it's scientific fact, then you got some issues out there. That's for sure.
Some people don't want to listen to science. I mean, there's a whole other world out there that doesn't believe science should have anything to do with fish and wildlife management.
Dicks.
Go figure. And we know them. They're out there. and they're out there, and that's the problem. Gord speaks from a science background, and pretty much everything he says is based on real hardcore facts. And that's why when I read this, I was in shock, because I had never seen anything that was more conclusive than this piece by Dr. Phillip, where they actually did a 30-year study just on that subject.
Absolutely. And snorkels and fins, snorkeling gear, right out there with the fish.
When you read it, you'll say, my God, how can anybody devote that kind of time and effort to one subject? But they did. And that's why now we need to take that, and we need to study it, and we need to, apply it, and make sure that we adhere to it.
Reassess the northern laws of the Northern Ontario laws. You know what I mean? Where basically half the province is allowed to fish smallmouth on the beds, largemouth too, but mostly smallmouth on the beds, right? So,
and what's interesting though is the purpose, the reason that was put in place, is to try and eradicate them. Like,
figure it out.
All right. Anyways, let's talk about something positive. How about we talk about the Great Ontario Getaway giveaway that's in its now starting its second month.
Round number two, Angelo.
Round number two. Elaine says, God said we did so. Gord the Lord. I love that. Become a fisherman. I've been fishing. Perfect.
Well said.
So we're in round two, and people are starting to understand the contest. I know that there's been a bit of a uproar out there about, well, this is harder than normal contests that we run, and normally we, they're no-brainers. We can just go and put in a ballot and hope that we win. This one's a little more complicated. Well, it is. It is a little more complicated, no doubt about it. But the ones that are starting to get it are getting it, and they're getting it big time. So we wanted to take a little bit of time today. We've invited Laurie from Nodo. She's going to be joining us here soon to give us her perspective on it. But before that happens, I just wanted to remind folks that the important thing about these monthly contests is that every month has a theme. The first month, the first theme was, how did or does or did or will the outdoors help you get through the pandemic? And a small group of people understood it and got it, but most people didn't. So everybody was submitting just stories and fishing pictures, which were all lovely and great and wonderful and whatnot, but it wasn't the theme.
It seemed like they just did. Maybe they didn't even read the theme. They just thought, hey, you know what? This is a great photo contest, and I'll give a caption, because it really seemed like nobody, the high majority, as Ange said, didn't even read the criteria, right, Ange? I mean, it just
that was the problem.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we let it go, though. We let it go. We said, okay, you know what? This is a brand new contest. We've changed the rules. We've changed everything. Let's let this one fly and let this one slide. However, in round two, not so much. And wait till round three. You can't do that.
So what Pete is referring to now is in the second month of the contest, whereby the theme is, if you should win, who would you take and why? That's a very simple question. Who would you take and why? So now, though, for those of you who still don't get it and are submitting pictures of your dog, lying on the dock after a day of swimming, we're not publishing it. We're not putting it in. We're asking you to resubmit. So some of you are getting annoyed with that, and you know what? Maybe justly so. I don't know. But it is the way it's going to be. If you don't adhere to what the protocol is for this particular theme, we can't put you in, because a lot of people are getting it. A lot of people are doing it right.
Most of them are doing it well this time. Yeah.
Doing it really well. So I just I wanted to come on here and tell you folks that we're not being, nasty people.
I was going to say nasty too. That's nasty.
We're not being nasty people, but it's part of we're
giving them a chance to rewrite. If you're sitting there and give us a picture of you and your dog on the dock, and you're talking about catching the fish over there, resubmit it with you'd like to take your dog to the lodge trip. That's all you have to do. Change your story around a little bit. Beautiful. Done.
All right. Laurie is here. So we want to bring her on because we also want to talk about some other things that maybe are a little confusing and need clarification on the site. Hey, Laurie, how you doing?
Hey, Laurie.
Hi, guys.
How's it going?
Good.
You just missed the dock.
You guys are nasty.
Yeah, I know. So we were just telling folks that each month we've got a different theme on the contest and how they can win. But I wanted to talk to you about the outfitters and the packages that they're putting in and how the whole thing works, because there seems to be a bit of confusion with the fact that every package is different. And maybe you can explain that to us.
I think that's the best part of all this, isn't it?
I know.
Yeah, I do too.
Well, I mean, it just goes to show that's how many different types of adventures we have in Northern Ontario. That's why I love this industry. That's why I've been working here for 30 years this year, is because it's so different. You never know what you're going to get, like a box of chocolates. So I think, and I would say what I love most is that there's a trip for everyone. There's a price point for everyone. There's the kind of adventure for everyone. No matter who you are, no matter what age you are, no matter your level of experience, and no matter what kind of trip you want to take, these guys have it all, and that's what I've admired and loved about working for this industry for this long. So there's, there will be housekeeping packages, and housekeeping packages are you bring your own food. You get your cottage rental, you get your boat, you get your motor, you get, you can have a guide included in that package, but you cook your own food. So it's all, on you. Now, the operators may provide you with a shore lunch. They may provide you with a kit for a shore lunch, or they may not. They may provide you with the stuff, but that's all the stuff you talk about with the operator. But the packages are all going to be different. There are packages with we call it American Plan, and that's your, all of your meals are included. Shore lunch kits, all of that. You don't have to bring anything but your fishing rod and your clothes, bare essentials. And there's drive-in, fly-in, boat-in, train-in. There's even ATV in. There's all different kinds. That's what's so exciting.
There's even, I noticed one or two, maybe more, but I noticed one or two actual houseboat events. That's fantastic.
Amazing.
I think the natural tendency of people is that they want to win the best. If I can win $1 million, I don't want to win $100. I can win $1 million, right? So when you get a variety of stuff like this, we're all hoping for that top end, the best lodge Ontario has to offer. But you got to be appreciative of what you win here, folks, because you got to remember what this is all about. This is to help tourism in Northern Ontario. We're doing a big thing here with $100,000 going to all these lodges that do win. So please, if you win a lodge that isn't the absolute top of the tree, please be appreciative of that and get there and have some fun with it, because I'm telling you what, it's a chance you wouldn't have had this package to begin with. So it's a bonus to you. So
you're making a lot of assumptions, though. And I have to interject here. You're making a lot of assumptions. You and I are a perfect example. Some of our best experiences have been from those places where, you might have looked at it on paper and said, nah, I don't know about that. How many times have we gone to a place like that and we said, wow, whether it's an outstanding in terms of fishery, whether it's outstanding in terms of the amenities or just the fellowship that particular operator has developed within his community. Every single one to me is a 5-star.
I must have come across wrong in that sense. I must have come across wrong, because that's exactly what I'm trying to say, is that you're gonna love no matter what you win. I guarantee you're gonna love this package, and this is a package that you would not have had. It's given to you for free, so trust us. They're all great fishing. That's what we're about, fishing and get-togethers and all that stuff. And these lodges are all and packages.
It's all about the experience. It's all about the experience. It really is. Yep.
So the way this worked, if I'm not mistaken here, that all of the operators were given an opportunity to submit their own package, right? So we had nothing to do, you had nothing to do with what that package looked like. So they were all allowed to build a package or submit whatever package they wanted to feature in the giveaway, and then it's the luck of a draw at that point, right? People who win the monthly segment of the contest, then there's a random draw made for one of those lodge owners, and they're connected. So it's really a wonderful experience. And for those of you who have been entering from day one, keep it up. And I wish each and every one of you could win, because I see the hard work that you're putting into this thing, and it's fantastic. The stories, by the way, this month, now that people are connecting with the themes and they're understanding what it is that we're asking of them, my God. I told one of our people here that when this is over, I want to take this month's submissions and make a book out of them, because they're absolutely fantastic.
That's great.
Just some great stuff, and it really goes to show you how much we take it for granted. Pete and I take it for granted because we've been blessed with the opportunity to work in the industry. You're taking it for granted because not only do you work in the industry, but you live in Northern Ontario. It just shows you how much we take for granted because we live this stuff every day. But most of these people that are with us here, even on this webcast, that's not the case. It's just not the case. So this is a great opportunity. It's wonderful.
We're getting some of these people in the comments are getting it. They don't. It doesn't matter. Even if you don't win, they get what we're doing this all about. Nick, there's Jen Burns says, please talk about the non-fishing places. Go ahead, Laurie, on that one.
Every single one of them can be a non-fishing place.
Hey, good point. Good point.
It all depends on what experience you want. This is just a place that you're going to rest your head. What you choose to do with your time there is entirely up to you. A lot of our operators have canoes, kayaks. Some of them have access to hiking trails. Some of them you could go in and they're close enough to use a provincial park and use their hiking trails. And they've got, that there's some of these operators have a relationship with Ontario Parks and they can give you a day pass. There's lots of different opportunities. If you want to go bird watching, if you are an artist and you want to sit on the most beautiful lakes and riverbeds in Northern Ontario and, paint your life away, that's the spot for it. If you love to stargaze, if you love to pick wild mushrooms, just talk to the operator, ask them what they've got. There are tons and tons of things to do beside fishing.
Stargazing.
The lake.
Stargazing is a great one because I don't think people realize this one either. When you can start going to Northern Ontario, you start going a little bit north and get farther north, you look in that sky every night as long as there's no clouds in it, you will not believe how many stars are in a sky because it does not go up here like it does there.
You've got there's no light pollution.
Yeah.
No light pollution. And it's amazing. People that go up north and have that experience. My favorite thing to do is to lie on the end of a dock. You've got water surrounding you, all around you, and you just look up at that sky. It's a completely different experience. It really is. And it's so calming. And don't we need to be calm right now?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
The other point worth making, Calvin just brought it up. He says, don't forget what the purpose of this whole exercise is. We're all here together to support and help the lodge owners here in Ontario. And I know that there's people that are from other parts of the country that are listening in and watching that maybe get a little upset when we keep pushing Ontario, but it is what it is. And this is our hometown, and Pete and I have had a special connection with most of these people in the north with operations, and we just saw fit that we needed to do something and help them. I'd love to be able to do it for all operators right across the country because they're all deserving of a break. But right now we're talking about Northern Ontario and the fact that a lot of these operators, love it or hate it, the reality of the matter is that they depend on U.S. business. Some of them 100% U.S. 100% of their business is from the U.S. Well, without a border to cross, that has gone from 100 to 0 overnight. And a lot of them have not exposed their products to you, the Canadian public. good or bad. We're not here to judge, but that's the reality of the matter, right? And so we think that by bringing you all together on one venue like this one, I think is a great opportunity for some of these operators who have ignored Canadians, people from Ontario, especially Southern Ontario. This is a great opportunity to kiss and make up. How's that? This is a great opportunity to hug and say, hey, I'm glad we found each other, and we're going to be doing business together from here on in. And that's the purpose of this. And so thanks, Calvin, for bringing that up, because we kind of missed that in this whole dialogue. It's about supporting. And at the same time, it's about taking the wrinkles out of your soul, because, you know, the experience that Laurie just mentioned on that dock, my God, that is almost spiritual. Like, I got goosebumps when you said that, because I've seen it, I've done it, I've been there, and I know what that feels like. And
she forgot to add the can of beer in her hand, though. The Canadian beer, eh? You know what I'm saying, eh? Laurie, come on, let's tell everybody.
I'm not a beer girl. Give me a spirit any day.
Yeah. So that's basically it. We just wanted to remind folks that there is a purpose behind all this, and so, you know, bear with us if it's not perfect. It's not perfect. It's not the perfect contest. You're not going to be, you know, 100% satisfied. I'm sure there are going to be people who will complain. But at the end of the day, look in the mirror and ask yourself, what's the purpose of all this? Free trips, that's always nice. That's always nice. But the bonus is that somebody at the other end is getting paid for these trips, and they're going to be able to make a little bit of money. And along the way, we'll all have had a little bit of fun and learned some new things, and maybe a newfound respect for each other, and all kinds of crazy things can come of it. So,
well, and I think, and too, you know, as you said before, we haven't really done a very good job of telling people in Canada what we have in the way of experiences. Yeah. And it just, you know, maybe that's a little positive thing that came out of COVID, right? Is that we actually took that look internally and said, hang on a second, we've got people here. We have people that are in dire need of getting away from it all, and they don't have to go very far, you know? So let's, you know, showcase. I mean, even if you don't win a trip, I encourage you to take a look at the different types of places. Talk to an operator, talk to them, you know, communicate with them, find out more about them, find out what their story is. There are some really cool stories with some of these operators, so many cool stories. And they're just hardworking people. And you can imagine the stress levels that they're under, but all of them say being at the lodge is, I'm so grateful that I'm at the lodge going through this, even though my business is really crazy right now. And I'm worried about everything, but being in that space provides them with such calmness. You know, it just takes it all back. They just hate not seeing people there with them. They really do. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, and you wanted me to talk a little bit about Noto, and I don't know if we have any time for that.
We got time for you. We can sit here all day with you. We have no issues.
Oh, thanks. So I think, you know, people know us, know the it was the Northern Ontario Vacation Directory a while ago, like very early on, Noto Directory. And we used to list all of our members and have a little blurb about each. And this was before internet, way before internet. And then we developed the Ontario Outdoor Adventure Guide. And that's how I really got to know you two, was because we were doing the booth for Go Fish.
Yeah.
And that showcased everybody in the sector, in the resource-based tourism sector. And that's where I got to know how big my industry was. And that's not that long ago. Yeah. You know, and in doing that, we realized there's over 1,300 of these types of businesses across the province. Over 1,000 of them, just over 1,000 of them, are in Northern Ontario. That's huge numbers. Mm-hmm. So what Noto does, and we're a membership-based organization, so the camps and lodges join our organization, and we advocate on their behalf. We provide information services, business support services. We have money saving benefits for them. We work with other companies to develop discounts and that sort of thing for them. But we really got away from the marketing because there's other people that do that and can just focus on that. And I think we all thought that was really important. And the membership are the ones that said, we need you to be doing this stuff really well. So, leave the marketing up to the other folks. So, and we certainly have, there's all of them: Sunset Country, Algoma Country, Northeastern Ontario Tourism. Those are our big ones in Northern Ontario, Destination Northern Ontario and Destination Ontario. There's a lot of marketing folks. They got it covered. I don't need to be doing it, but
stop for 1 second.
Okay.
You got to read. You got to read this. You got to read this.
Oh, Ted. Don't make me cry.
And it's true.
Thanks,
It's
Ted.
true. Carry on. Sorry.
So now I lost my train of thought.
That's all right.
So since the beginning of COVID, we normally communicate with our membership, but we decided that it was really, really, really important to make sure that everybody in the sector has information, has the support, knows that there's somebody here that has their back. And we also needed to engage with them. We needed to, get information out of them to help us advocate on their behalf, like doing surveys and things like that. And we wanted to check in with them. That was the big thing, was just checking in with them and seeing how they're doing all the time. So we went from sending our newsletter to about 300 businesses to 1,400 businesses. And, it's really I wanted them to have that sense of community, wanted them to have a place that they could go to cry on a shoulder, to, scream at somebody for a few minutes, and just to say, to know that they have somebody that's representing them as best as we can. So I keep saying to Kate, and there's 2 staff people at Noto. There's me and my Kate. And I couldn't live without Kate. Absolutely not. There's no way. And also I have my board. So my board is made up of 11 people. 2 of them are preferred supplier members. The rest of them are camp operators. So I take my direction from industry through my board. And they have been phenomenal. They have been very, very supportive. Ted, actually, from Hawk Lake, is, of course, one of them. We couldn't do this without that group. Definitely, they have our backs. So, we've been lobbying provincially, federally, through the municipalities, regionally. It's just been all on. I say this to Kate all the time. Okay, honey, there's no days of the week and there's no hours in any day until we get through this. And it's hard. I started trying to claim back my weekends recently, and it's going okay.
Yeah.
But we got to be here until they don't need us anymore. And hopefully, we'll see our folks with a season this year. We really, really hope so. I'm remaining optimistic that the vaccinations will start really amping up, and we will be able to think about, reopening that border soon. But right now, I have to focus on whether we're going to be able to have domestic market even.
Right.
So it's challenging.
The importance and relevance of what you folks are doing, to me anyways, and I could be totally off base with this, but there's another angle here that I look at all the time, and that is that if we lose, you said you have some 1,400 members. Pete and I have always used the number 1,200 operators in Ontario, Northern Ontario. Every one of them that we lose moving forward is a little piece of wilderness that's going to go along with it. And the reason I say that, and I know a thing or two about governments. I've worked very closely for a number of years to be able to tell you that it's a constant balance that they have between industry and recreation. Who do I please? Do I please the mining companies, the timber companies? Do I please the Or do I please that poor little operator that's got that, that 4-generational business on that piece of land that we're keeping the whole area locked up for them? Or do I just say the hell with it and let industry move in there and tear it all apart? So this is in no way, shape, a threat or anything. I'm not implying anything. But I can tell you right now that these operators, whether that number is 1,000 or 1,200 or whatever the number is we're throwing out there these days, it's the reason why we have the pristine wilderness still in this part of the world. It's because of those operators. It's because of those 2 and 3 generational little companies that have been maintaining and protecting those wild areas for us. Once they're gone, they're gone. Believe me. There is nobody is going to say, "Oh, okay, who wants to come in and take over this spot of it?" No, they're gone. They're gone. So let's think about that too. Let's not forget about the importance that they play in maintaining and keeping our wild places wild.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. I mean, if there wasn't, we've been doing if we don't have the economic impact numbers available to fight all of these fights, if we don't have that, an individual operator, is gonna have a hard time fighting for that piece of land, right? You got to have a backup. You got to have somebody that can present them as part of an industry rather than just an individual operator. It's a struggle every day, I would say. And right now, all of our forest management plans in the province there's 38 forest management plans that are coming due. So that means the operator has to go in again, look at what the plans are, think about what their values, we call them tourism values, and try to get those plotted out. So I think there's that's just one of the things that we have to watch for. And giving the economic information really helps us with our communities as well, because we show how much money we actually support the northern communities with, like buying supplies, having staff pulled from those communities, our guests buying goods and services inside those communities. I mean, it's critical. Like some of these towns last year were like ghost towns because we didn't have our guests up. So I mean, it's all really, really important, and it's an organization like NODO can attend meetings and make sure that everybody knows, the importance, the important role that tourism plays in so many different ways. So yeah, it's a big job.
Can you address this comment that's on?
Yeah, I just want to ask that. Yeah, that Jin's comment. Can you talk about the up to 20% tax credit for tourism support? Can you talk about that at all?
We've been asking for details. We've been consulted a bit on that. They haven't gotten it all ironed out yet. I don't see that being put out. I would give it another month. I don't think it's going to be out just yet, because they want to make sure that, some of the stuff that we've brought up is we want to make sure that 20% tax credit actually assists, gets people moving further into the province, gets people moving around, because if they do it in a way that's non-prescriptive, then they could, just spend it at restaurants and local. We want them to be able to do that, but we also want to incentivize them to move further around the province. So I think they're still tweaking things. I haven't heard, what it looks like yet, but I think that they're working on something for the end of this month, and then I can't really say that what it looks like right now.
Okay. Let's move on to the contest, because we're 3 weeks away from the second leg of it. Yep. And announcing the next 5 winners. Can you explain to folks how it works in terms of the hierarchy or the process and procedures once we establish the 5 winners here on this show? The next steps. Now, this was just handed to me. That's why I'm saying this, and we'd like you to elaborate on it. The next steps are that NODO is sort of the official connection. We are the contest people. FishingCanada.com handles all of the contesting for the event. Once we have received the 5 winning names and they're given to you, you then contact them?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. We contact the lodge and we contact the winning contestant. And then we put the 2 of them together.
Okay. And then once the 2 are connected, the lodge and the winning contestant, then from that point on, you're out of it and we're out of it, in the sense that they can do whatever they want. There's a lot of folks that are saying, hey, listen, I know the trip's for 2, but if I should win, I'd like to take my family there. Do you think I could get, some sort of deal going with the operator? Well, talk to them.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point too. That's a good point. This trip is for 2 people. So I've seen some stories written, and it looks like they're expecting maybe more, but maybe they're looking at what Ange wants to say. They want to buy something else, but the trip for 2. Just remember that too. Just everybody knows.
So the trip is paid for 2 people, but if they want to make other arrangements, if they, wanted to add something additional to the package, that's all between the consumer and the operator. But what we do is we will, if we've let either one know that if they have any questions or anything else, they can come back to us, and we'll see if it's a question we can answer or if that's something they need to deal with the operator. We don't want to just say, here, there you go, bye-bye.
Yeah.
We want people to know that we're still there.
Yeah, I didn't want anybody to think we were just handing off, but everybody here in this event has a particular function, and Noto's function is the liaison between operator and winner, and they kind of look after that part of it. And then once you make your arrangements with the operator, and by the way, another misconception, we had a nasty letter come in from somebody saying, how dare you folks promote travel at a time where we're under lockup? I'm not going to participate in this dumb contest because you're fostering, harm and but anyways, I'll mention the fact that this is the prize can be redeemed over this year and next. So you've got until the end of 22 to make arrangements with the operator that works for you. A lot of people can't just up and leave, even if we weren't under lockdown, but you've got work to consider and other commitments to consider. So you've got this year and next year that you can make arrangements with the operator to
quite frankly, right now, the lodges are just getting ready to open.
Right.
For the most part. They're not ready to receive guests yet.
We got ice up there still. What's the matter with you?
I'd rather be fishing says, what about transportation to lodge if a fly-in? Well, that's a good question. Laurie?
So they will, the contestant has to get to a hub, which would be like their air base. And then the fly-in portion is totally covered in that package. The fly-in packages include the air transportation from their air base or from whichever air base they're using.
Yeah.
But you need to get yourself to their air base.
Here's another example. If it's a train in from Sudbury, let's just say, you have to get yourself to the train station at Sudbury. From there, they take you all the way up through wherever you gotta go. So you do have to get to the designated hub first. That is
right.
And can I take a moment to explain, because we've had some people complaining about that.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you. I'm the bearer of bad news here, because I get all the complaints. So I've had people complain, saying, "Oh, well, there you go. Well, that's not fair." Yeah. I don't live, in Espanola. I don't live in Wawa. I don't live in whatever. I'm in Toronto, or worse yet, I've had one saying I'm in Vancouver. So I'm being penalized because I got to pay for my trip all the way to Ontario. So let me just throw this out again, in case we lose sight of what our purpose here is today. We're here to help. We're not here to cause problems. We're here to help. The operators are getting paid for these trips. The whole premise here is that we are drumming up business for them. And it's not costing you anything. You are going to win it free. The operator is going to get paid in real currency. We couldn't spread the money to Air Canada and everybody else that it would take to have transportation facilitated for everybody from all over the country. So we made a decision that what we would do is make sure that the money goes where it's needed. And where is it needed? in the northern communities. That's where the money has to go. So you need to get yourself to that hub, as Laurie just mentioned. And that hub, depending on where you win, it's the air base, the closest air base to that operator, or it's the air base that operator uses for their fly-ins.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to get yourself there.
So something that I've been talking to a lot of folks that are interested in coming up to Northern Ontario, and they're talking to me about how long it takes. And we have to maybe do a little bit of a better job to explain to them that the trip begins from the minute they get out of rush hour traffic.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah, really. I mean, there are so many amazing, if you're driving from Southern Ontario, there are so many scenic areas to stop and explore along the way. Don't just go blindly.
Absolutely.
I think road trip, hello. I mean, it's different for everyone. And I know that some people, don't like to drive long distances, but break up the drive.
Yeah, of course, that's the best way.
If you have any opportunity to drive around Lake Superior in the summer, oh my.
Yeah.
It's breathtaking.
It's pretty awesome, for sure.
It's pretty breathtaking.
And even from let's say, east of Toronto, the Torontonians would probably take Highway 400 up, which is certainly not your basic back road or anything like that. But if you go east of that, we go north of Whitby and go through the Muskoka area and all that. Oh my God, it's a great drive. 10 minutes out of Whitby, it's beautiful.
People pay for that. Don't you understand? People from other parts of the world pay humongous dollars for that experience alone.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, people from all parts of the world pay to get a trip around Superior and up through, that whole area. They actually pay just for those trips.
Yeah, that's the Lake Superior Circle Tour.
Exactly.
Unreal. Motorcyclists? Oh. Hello.
So, anyways, we're if we sound like we're trying to oversell, maybe we are, but it's because we get weird questions asked of us.
Yeah, you got to oversell when people ask, where I got to start from. I don't want to. You got to pay me from my house, my gas tank.
Dean Talbot has got the perfect comment, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to anybody that might take this the wrong way. Dean says if people don't want to take the time or pay the money to get to the lodge hub, then don't enter the draw. Right? Don't enter the contest. That's the part I don't understand. But anyway.
We have over 54 lodges now, I think.
I know.
Said we have, I think we're 57. I think 57, 56, 57.
Yeah.
So lodges, fly-in, drive-in, train-in. Well, they're train-in, and they're houseboats. I mean, there's so many different types. And if something there can interest you.
Yeah.
Elizabeth says, how many days is the getaway for?
It depends. So if it's a housekeeping plan, it may be a full week, could be 5 days. If it's a fly-in, generally they're 3 to 4 days, maybe 5 days. Usually 4 days is max. It all depends on what they've donated. So, definitely you're going to get value for it. It's not going to be a 2-day trip, or you're not going to drive all the way there, sit for 2 days, and then, this is their normal. They've developed these plans over years and years and years, and they listen to their guests. So they have designed these plans, these packages rather, after listening to guests for years. So these are pretty standard packages.
By the way, Laurie was mentioning the participating lodges. If you go to fishingcanada.com, hit the contest, and then I think there's a third level down. Hit that link, and it goes right to all our lodges, and there you have everything in there. And then when you click on that, it goes to about the lodge, and then you get a click to their site. You got it's all right there. So
so make sure you scroll down to see what the package includes.
Exactly,
it's all listed in there.
Exactly.
And if you win one, and I'll just use this as an example. You win one, and it's only 3 days, and you want to do a 5-day or 7-day, talk to the operator.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're there for. They'll work with you. Laurie, I don't know whether you can answer this one, but this is a question from DSLAP, Travel and Service.
Hmm.
They want to help promote Ontario fishing spots and lodges, but are unsure if they work with travel agents due to commission structures. Who would they talk to?
Oh, you know what? Some of them do. Some of them do deal with travel agents, but most of them don't. But maybe if you can contact me offline, we can always put a blurb in our newsletter to say you're looking for folks that are working, that are accustomed to working with travel agents or that do work with travel agents. And we'd be happy to, you can get some connections that way. How would that be?
It's funny that that question came up because for years we've said, why doesn't some professional sales agency get involved in selling and marketing Northern Ontario? It just seems like that there's a void there, because they're some of the most incredible venues on the face of the earth.
Yeah.
And it just seems that there's a lack of, I don't know.
And I think part of that, I think, is connectivity. Some of our lodges can't go on, do it online, and because the packages they're pretty custom made. I mean, there's such a wide variety of packages you might be able to get at one single lodge that it's really difficult for them to, be able to manage bookings with somebody else doing the booking. And, our industry is all about building relationships with guests. So a lot of them really like that ability to work directly with somebody to book a trip. They want to get the feel for the guest. They want the guest to, build that relationship right off the hop. And but I get it. I mean, we've looked at different systems like online reservation systems. I'm seeing more and more of the operators getting into using those kinds of systems, but it's still, it's just a portion of the industry that's doing that. And it's mostly because they can't keep going and checking their inventory. It's just the connectivity just isn't there.
Oh,
I see a question, and I'm not sure about this one myself, about it. Are any lodges from Nancy, any lodges available for ice fishing? Do the Ontario lodges stay open through the winter?
Some of them absolutely do. Yeah, some of them are year round. They're open for snowmobiling and for ice fishing. There's a bunch in, I would say, every region, all three regions of Northern Ontario.
So what would happen then, Nancy, you would just, if you win, you contact a lodge, and if you want an ice fishing package and they do offer that with that lodge, then you could set that up. So I'm assuming, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. Anything else?
What else we got there? Exposure north of that makes sense. All right. If we're under lockdown, there's a good question. Suppose to say in your zone, how are we supposed to get out fishing? So let's not deal with it as a fishing general question. Let's deal with it as a contest question. Again, the redemption part of this event goes right through till the end of 22. However, and I don't even know why I'm throwing this out, but I'll throw it out. If we have unforeseen circumstances that take us beyond that, I don't know what we're going to do, because I think a free trip will be the least of our problems at that point if we're still locked down by the end of 22. So.
I think we've all learned flexibility and adaptation through COVID. I think we can figure that part out. But I mean, that's absolutely worst case scenario, right? I mean,
to answer it maybe in the terms that Norm asked the question, it's a very good question, and we were talking about it earlier today here in this building. We're under lockdown, and it's supposed to be essential travel only. I don't even know how to deal with this. How do you deal with fishing? Is it essential? Well, some people might argue the fact that it is essential, and so they need to go out and fish. But I don't think those are the people that this lockdown is supposed to be targeting. So I'm always of the opinion that if you're just going out fishing and you're still adhering to all the protocols that are supposed to be in place, regardless of what you're doing or where you're doing it, and you're adhering to those protocols, I don't think you got anything to worry about. I mean, nobody's going to stop you if you're on a boat in the middle of a lake fishing.
They might stop you to see if you're by yourself or not by yourself. If there's somebody else in your boat and they're with your own family, that'd be a reason to stop you. But as long as you're, like Ann said, adhering to it, if your family members in your bubble, they really, you're not hurting anybody in the middle of a lake. Two people in the middle of a lake. So, right.
There's another question referring to the contest. Do the drive to lodge packages include boats, or can you bring your own boat? Once again, I think most of them you could, if it's a drive to, most of them you could bring your own boat. There's very few exceptions that I'm aware of where they don't have a launch ramp for your boat.
Yeah.
So the answer would be yes, you could bring your boat. I also see that Buck Lake Lodges and Outpost says that their trip, that'll be one, hopefully, is a flying lodge, and it's for 7 days.
Wow, that's a good one.
There you go. That's a beauty. And we've been there. Ange and I have shot there. That's you will catch a lot of walleye. That if you are lucky enough to go in Buck Lake, you're gonna like it. Trust me.
Witch's nose. Remember this.
Yeah.
Witch's nose.
Look at you. You can't remember Gord Pyzer's phone number, but you got the witch's nose waypoint now pretty good, don't you? Wow. Holy crap.
It's a great point that Pete and I found on that lake while we were shooting. It's called Witch's Nose. Don't forget that. If anybody wins Buck Lake Lodge and Outpost, the first place you need directions to is Witch's Nose. There.
I want to go.
It's a great little place.
Oh, it's great. The shore lunch there was well, they're all great. Who am I kidding?
Yeah. Going back to the drive to in the boat, bringing your own boat for Bob there. Most of these places, by the way, have great little boat launches too, Bob. I mean, they use them. They keep upkeep them, maintain them, and if there was any problem, they'll launch the boat for you. If they have to put their tractor or their vehicles or whatever on there, if it was muddy or something like that, they'll get you in the water. I mean, they're usually very good. Every launch we've been to, the drive to has worked perfect for us. So,
yeah.
I was just reading a long letter there on the site. The only way I'll address, I don't even think we need it up. The only way I'm going to address this, I will make this comment, is that we said that there are 1,400, arguably more or less operators in the province, and they're like any other independent business. There's some really, 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 really good people who know what the service industry is all about, and those are really good places, and there are some bad ones. What I can tell you, because this lady is concerned about that, what I can tell you is that between Laurie and her group and our group and DNO, who is a third partner in this event, I can pretty much tell you that with almost total certainty that there's nothing but good people in this event, and the operators that you're going to be exposed to will become tremendous friends. I can almost guarantee you that you'll have lasting relationships, but most importantly, they are going to show you something that you have never seen before: a hospitality and a kinship and a wilderness adventure that regardless of whether it's a 7-day housekeeping or a fly-in for 3 days or drive to or train, they're going to show you something that you probably didn't even know existed. So rest assured that if you win, it should be good.
Well, and I can talk about what they have to, like the application form for a lodge isn't just, give us your package. They have to, and NOTO helped to write some protocols, COVID health and safety protocols last year, had them vetted by government. They've been in place, and our industry has, by and large, the progressive operators, the ones that really care about their guests and that want to do good things and to remain in business and provide safe, healthy, vacations, are taking up these protocols. So they had to show us that they were, going to be accepting these protocols and putting these protocols in place. They had to apply for what's called the Safe Travel Stamp. It is a worldwide stamp that you get, and that's an application process in itself. You have to do a little bit more, confirming what your protocols are, and sign off that you're adhering to things. And once they had that, then we could accept their application form. That we felt very strongly that was something that we had to have part of this project. We had to have part of this contest. And then, Kate and I, we went and looked at websites. We went and, checked them out. I'm very happy to say that we didn't have any that we needed to turn away. Yeah, I mean, I think you're getting a good chunk of the best in this contest.
Very well put. Very well put. A lot of them, Pete and I have experienced personally, and I got to tell you, there isn't a bad one among them that I've seen so far. It's
the experience too. People have to remember that it is a once in a lifetime experience. Ann said earlier that we were spoiled. We are spoiled. We are, because we get to work in this in the fishing industry, and part of that is traveling to the north and going to these camps, be it an outpost, be it a full-fledged lodge, whatever. And I'll tell you what, it has been the best part of my life to be able to go to these things. I can personally vouch for, as most of these people that are watching here today are anglers, and I'm telling you, it is just so awesome to get up there, nothing around you, anywhere around you like that, and just get out fishing when you want, have a shore lunch, have some hot dogs, doesn't matter, crack a beer at night at the fire, it doesn't matter. Trust me, it's all good.
I'd rather be fishing wants to know if there's been any news concerning the lockdown and lodges. Laurie, have you heard anything at all?
Not really. As long as the stay-at-home order stays in place, people can't get to us.
Yeah.
Really. So it's we kind of just have to hunker down, and hopefully we'll see those numbers reduce to the COVID case numbers, the daily numbers. We need to see them around 1,000 folks. So, we don't see anything letting up until that happens. And I know it's heartbreaking, and I know it's a huge challenge, but our operators are dealing with it. They're suffering more losses, and Joe Blow Public is also feeling the angst of not being able to get out and to do their favorite things too. But if we don't, people are feeling in our industry, let's just do this because we want to be open and we want to stay open. We don't want to be shut down again. So let's please, just hunker down.
Very well put. On that note, Laurie, we will let you. I know you've got a couple of other matters to deal with today. Really appreciate you coming on, and
it's been fun.
We're all anxiously waiting to see who wins the end of the month. That's going to be interesting. I want to remind folks that that Laurie and her group will continue putting operators into the drum. It's going to be an ongoing process. So as you go through them, we have a section there now where you can go down and look at all of the operators that are in, but they're going to be putting in more in each day as the applications come in. So thank you so much, Laurie. Appreciate
all
you.
Right. You guys take care. Thanks a lot for having me.
Laurie, have a good weekend. See ya.
Oh, man.
She's great. Hey, she's great.
Isn't she nice?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Think the word.
I want to, before we leave this, I know we've got the caption contest we want to deal with real quick, but I want to.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I just want to remind people, now that you've got these wonderful stories in and you're starting to get the hang of this, unfortunately, your work has just begun, because you can have the very best story and image and a submission, but if you don't have votes, unfortunately, you're not going anywhere. I know a lot of you still think that it's a random draw, and it's not. Yeah, vaccinate. Good point. I'd rather be fishing.
Yep.
It's not a random draw. It's a random draw for the lodges, for the operators, but it's not random draw for you. And so the only way that you're going to win, it's not hard, but it does take a bit of effort. The only way you're going to win is to get votes. And the way you get votes is you've already done you've taken the first step, and that is submitting a good a story, a compelling reason that people should vote for you, and a good image. You've already taken that step, but now you need to get people there to vote. People within your circle and people within this community, people from this site need to vote. You need to start reaching out. You need to start letting them know that you want their vote. And here's the reason why, right? So I just want you to know, sitting back now that you've submitted is not going to cut it. I'm being very frank with you. It's just not. There's people that are understanding how this process works, and there's 5 votes that people are allowed each day. If you have a circle of friends, 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 of these friends that you've talked to that are willing to commit to you, they're trying to come in and vote for you every day, chances are you're going to do really well. But without them, it's going to be tough. And I just want to be honest. I don't want to disappoint anybody who might be saying, okay, I've done my thing. I've submitted. Now let me sit back and let me win. And it ain't going to happen. So there you go. Well, I just wanted to,
No, it's good. People need to be reminded of it. You know what I mean? It's just, you can't get complacent. You got to work for your win. That's all. Caption contest.
Just like the caption people who've entered the caption contest have worked for their win, right?
Exactly, my friend. Exactly. So what we're going to do, what Ange and I are going to do now is we're going to reveal Angelo and Pete's top 5 picks have all submitted captions for. Can we get the photo up there, Nick, of just the photo itself, or do you want to give the first caption as well? You know what? I'll read off the first caption as well, because he's probably got it set up for that when we're in our truck. He's got the caption on it. Okay. Maybe Nick's not watching. I'm not sure. He's got or Jordan or whatever.
Hang on that thought. Let me. Sorry, Richard Corkum wants to know: can you enter more than once in the photo caption contest?
No.
All right, there you go. There's your answer. The answer.
Sorry, Richard. You can enter every new round. You can enter more than once. So once this round is over, then you can get and drawn. Then you can add another picture with another brand new story adhering to the storyline. And yes, you can enter more than once that way. So, but one per theme. How's that?
Because what happens if we find that somebody has more than one entry in short lunch?
Get out of there!
More lunch.
Good point, buddy. Good
question, Richard. Appreciate it.
Correct me if I'm wrong,
yes.
but I think he's referring more to the actual caption contest, not what you guys said with more than one entry kicked out.
The photo. Photo caption.
Yeah, it kind of has a photo with it. I don't know, but
no, you're right. Maybe. You're right, Nick. Why didn't you have that picture up when I asked you for it, damn it?
Well, because I don't know what caption you're reading.
Yeah.
So the answer to that. So the answer to you, Richard, then in that case, as you know, because you've entered several times, is yes. You can enter.
Yes. We're not gonna do that to you, Richard. Okay, I'm sorry, buddy. If we had to do that to you, we'd have Ange's right. Yeah. Sorry about that, Richard. That's good. God. So there we got both sets of rules out. Okay, see. We got the ones that we didn't need to tell out, but we did need to tell it anyways. Then we got Richard's stuff out there too. So moving on to the caption contest. Okay, everything else is out of Ange and Pete's head now. Don't confuse us, you guys.
Wait. Dean says that Nick must have been raiding your beer fridge.
Yeah, you don't you kid yourself. The thing about that, I'll catch him, buddy, because after 3 he'll be hammered and smashed, so I don't have to worry about too many being gone. So he's still a kid. Oh boy. Okay. Can we move on? Are we moving on, or what are we doing?
Hang on. No, we said we were going to answer questions, and I'd rather be fishing wants to know, could we tell folks mid-month how they're doing in the contest?
No.
Okay, no,
I'm doing that's a fillet knife to the juggler right there. No. Enough of that. Okay. Any more questions? I got one-word answers from here on in.
Hang on. I have to say, because there's people are now going to say, whoa. What are you talking about? towards the end of the month, I believe it's the last week, the top 50 will receive an email saying that you're in the top 50.
Okay.
You got a week left. You're almost there. Make it happen. Okay.
Okay. I'll give you that. Yeah, I'll give you that.
All right.
A lot of emails for poor Nick to send out, eh? He's already got enough shit to do around here. Now you got him doing that. Jeez, poor Nick. You need a beer, Nick. Get over to my house tonight. We'll crack a couple.
Go.
Because I guarantee I'm going to have a couple. That's for sure. All right. You going to ask for questions, or can I lay the first caption out there?
It's all yours, buddy. I'm
Nick,
here.
it's going to be the top one on the list that somebody gave us a list here. I don't know who gave us the list. Maybe it was Jordan. Maybe it was Nick. But if you can't adhere to this list that you guys gave us, that I guess this is total disruption throughout this whole show. Then
What is it you're going to list out? What is it going to tell folks right now?
we're going to tell them the captions
Yes.
that you and I chose
Yes.
as our top 5.
These are the finalists, the top 5 finalists.
Correct. And then everybody will vote on the top 1.
Somebody's going to pick out of these 5. The audience is going to pick. You and I made the determination that these were the top 5 worthy.
These were our top 5, not the top 5. These were our top 5, because many are going to disagree with us, as they always do, buddy. You know that, right?
But it's all about us in this case.
That's right. It's all about us.
This is,
Because what it is because this contest is called the Public's Caption Contest, right? No, it's called the Fish and Cabinet Contest. And I think the only 2 guys that I know about this contest are Ange and Pete. And oh my God.
carry on.
Okay.
All right.
Without further ado, the first one that we chose from Paul Coble is, I told the wife I was taking the truck in for an oil change and tire rotation. And we're laughing at that one because it was pretty good. That one came in very early, and I'll tell you what, we would laugh at that, Paul. So I like to thank you for that one. I thought that was pretty damn good. So, and Ange and I both picked that one as a shoe-in for the top 5.
By the way, I noticed that was marked number 2. It doesn't matter because there's no particular order.
Well, I'm reading them off the list here. Just give that one.
Uh-oh. It just says Caption Contest number 2, as in this is the
Angelo,
second
read all the words, damn it. Okay, that's twice you've screwed us up here today. Okay.
I know you didn't do that good in reading class, but that's why you have me. It works. See?
Oh,
it
boy.
works beautifully.
Would we be in trouble if we had you for that?
You're a beer stealing bitch. Don't you be giving yourself pats on the back. Okay, I found out about you. Okay. Moving on. Angelo, do you want to read number 2, or do you have the list?
I have a list.
And
number 2 was authored by David Griffiths, and his caption is, "Can you believe they actually pay us to fish?"
We would laugh at that one too. That one kind of, it does fit for that picture. I have to say, it does fit for that picture. So that's number 2. And these are going to be available on our website for people to vote on too. I'm assuming that Nick and Jordan have it all set up. Caption number 3 from John Thompson. This is a pretty good one too. I got to say, I like this one too. I just cannot believe he actually pulled your finger. And not a good move when he pulls your finger. I'll tell you that. That's pretty good. And by the way, there was a lot of fart captions in this one here. And there was, like, I don't know, they must have seen each other and fed up each other, because there was so many fart captions. It was crazy. So okay.
Next one is submitted by John Remus.
Yep.
And this was a good one. Totally different direction.
Yep.
This one says, "Pete, hold my hand. I'll punch the gas. I feel like a Thelma and Louise moment coming on."
That was pretty good. He obviously has the punch the gas, the fast speed going on there. And it was befitting. I like that too.
Yep.
And the last one, I kind of like this one too. Jean Rivard. I'll say Jean. This morning, I told the wife that I was in the mood to make love to her. She answered back, "What a nice day. You should go fishing." Access denied once again. Very good. That was good, Mr. River. I like that one too. So
those are this months or weeks. I don't know. Is this a weekly thing or monthly?
well, we sort of got this condensed down to a week or a week and a little bit. So on this one, yeah. So it's not a monthly thing, no.
Okay, so this week's top 5, and they'll be up on the site here momentarily if they're not already there. If you would kindly go in and give us your opinion of which one of these is worthy of the championship.
The championship. And the newest, the third caption contest will start on Tuesday of next week. We will start our new one on Tuesday of next week.
I was going to ask you that because normally we would announce it, but I wasn't hearing. So now.
Correct.
Right.
So that is Tuesday, I believe, the 11th of May. So we'll announce a new one. And then, of course, we've been having some great responses. Please keep this going, folks, because this is fun for Ange and I are reading these things. Like, we're getting a ton of submissions in it. It's a lot of fun when you're reading it. So we'll have we'll put the new picture up for everybody to see, and then you can have at her and rip her apart for sure.
Did we get through everything?
Oh, I think so, buddy. I think
and then some, right?
Right. Look at that. It's almost 2 hours again, pal. What are we doing?
Well,
it's supposed to be a 1 hour thing, like
but I wanted to get paid that extra hour, right? I was short this
double
week.
Time.
I had to take the morning off this morning. So
after 5 o'clock, you get paid double time here, kid. Okay?
Want to remind everybody that there's this month's Great Ontario Getaway giveaway is wide open in the sense that nobody is running away with it. So you enter today for the first time. You'll be, as long as you get it, you'll be in great shape to take away one of the 5 free trips that'll be given away at the end of the month.
And remember on that contest page, if you want to see the availability of where they could be going, we have the lodge section right there. Great little section. You got to check it out. You'll see all the lodges available as of right now. So great little spot to check it out.
And something else I just thought of, all these wonderful questions, some of them that we probably didn't get to today regarding questions about lodges and operators and their products and stuff. Now you can go directly to them. They're all on the site. Feel free to reach out to them and ask them yourself. You don't have to be a winner to communicate with them. In fact, you should probably communicate with them now. Maybe you can hook up with them and it'll be a good omen or karma or whatever. You might end up winning it. Who knows? But hook up with them. Any questions you might have. They're wonderful folks. All of them are there just to be able to answer your questions. So feel free. All right.
What's his name mean to you? Tyler McMullen.
I saw that and I didn't even go near it.
Tyler, you rock, buddy.
I didn't even go near it. Anyways, everybody stay safe, please. Enjoy the wonderful weekend ahead. Richard, thank you. Stay safe yourself too, my friend. And we will probably talk to you sometime towards the end of next week and give you an update on everything that's been going on. And if you have any questions regarding the contest, Nick has posted the place where you can get answers directly from us. And if not, just go to info@fishingcanada.com and you'll get through as well. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great weekend.
See you.